Ambitious women, entrepreneurs are beginning a movement to create a new way of business that focuses on collaboration and community. Together, we are shaping the way by using our intuition, our inner insight, and our creativity. Join us for inspiration, motivation, and transformation. This is your host, Luci McMonagle, and this is the Wealthy Wednesday Show. A special thanks to Gordon Reary for creating the music. You can find him on Facebook under Gordon Reary. So now, let's get started. Today, I have an incredible speaker who is absolutely fabulous. Her name is Lisa Dadd, and after walking away from a successful career at a Fortune 100 company to find more meaning, more purpose, more fun, Lisa Dadd has transformed more than just her day job. Her decision to invest in what she wanted to have in life and to rule life on her terms has helped her to really create an inspiring movement for you. In her book, Finding Fabulous, Paving the Path Between Paycheck and Passion, she really helps you consider what is our most fabulous life. What does it look like? What does it provide? What are the practical, relevant tools that you need in order to get rid of that tired, stuck feeling? So let's welcome Lisa to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Luci, for having me. It's great to be here.
Wow, you are such an incredible author, and you have this means of being able to help individuals finding fabulous. And some people might consider it fabulous, climbing up Mount Everest, or some people might find fabulous as skiing in the mountains. But what does finding fabulous mean to you, so that we're not guessing what it means?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I always encourage people to actually find their own version of fabulous because it is so different for each person. For me these days, what finding fabulous means is being intentional to continue figuring out what lights me up, I'm curious about. It's this intentional choice every day to actually look for what lights me up. And so I mean, what actually does light me up is I love going hiking. I hike with my dog a lot. Currently, I live out in the West Coast. I'm from Canada originally, and so I live in Ontario, Canada in the winter, in the summer, and I live out in California in the winter. And I love just traveling around and getting to work with really inspiring people and meeting people like yourself that are out there in the world doing some amazing stuff to transform people in a positive way.
Wow. Wow. And that, a lot of individuals, they may not have heard that term where I'm from, the living in the cold part during the summertime and living in a warm part during the wintertime. They're called snowbirds.
Yes, that's right.
Wow. So finding fabulous could be living in a warm climate year round, but maybe in more than one place for you.
It is for me, yes. But, that's sort of the medium of where I go. But really for me, it's that I get to do the kind of work that really lights me up. And I think just being in an environment that inspires me is really what led me out here. I don't bask in the sun every day, but just I love the environment, the energy out here. And I love that same energy at my lake in the summertime. So that is where my fabulous gets to blossom, I guess.
Wow, Lisa, that is really fabulous. Speaking of fabulous, and do you have suggestions for people who are looking to find their passion or their purpose?
Yeah, it's a trick. It's interesting because everybody talks about it in such a simple way. Just go follow your passion and find your passion. And for me, I don't know about everyone out there, but for me, it wasn't super easy. When I left my corporate job behind, I really didn't know what that was for me. One of the saddest moments in my whole transition was when a life coach said to me, "What brings you joy?" And I didn't have an answer for her. Like, I didn't know. And I was like searching for these answers that I thought she wanted me to have, which is even sadder, I know. But that's what happened. I was like, well, maybe it's this and maybe it's that. And for me, it actually was a journey that I had to go on and that I'm continuing to be on.
Wow. Wow. And that happens to so many individuals. And whether you leave the job that you're in or you transition to something different and you're ready for something new, the same thing happened with me when my position as a co-owner of a company ended.
Mm.
And I honestly didn't know what brought me joy. I didn't know what I loved.
Mm.
And you would think I would because I was a co-owner of a company. I was making really, really good money. I was really, really happy. I really believed in the cause. I had a vision for the company, but things didn't always turn out the way that happened. So having that soul searching time and asking yourself pointed questions is helpful, but also really taking the journey as you were mentioning. And what were some of the biggest barriers you had on the status quo, for venturing out and finding what was the right path on your journey?
Yeah, I would say, some of the words, I guess, just even shifting my language a little bit from feeling like I had to find specifically my passion or my purpose being one big thing. But I started to actually realize that I needed to follow what I was curious about. What fascinated me? What was I perplexed about? Or maybe even what I was irritated about? Sometimes we can find inspiration in something that irritates us and we need to find the solution for it. So part of the biggest challenges for me was just getting over my basic mindset that I had had in the corporate world, that everything had to look a certain way and be a certain way. And I started to realize the more I stepped outside of, these blinders of this corporate world that I was living in, the more possibility that I saw all around me. I was looking at my opportunities through jobs that I had heard of and that I knew about. And when I stepped outside, I realized I could completely design a brand new way of being for myself, a new job, a new lifestyle. I could live in a different location. And so it really was this shift that happened and is continuing even to get broader, of seeing possibilities where I hadn't even been looking before.
Wow. Wow. And that's really one of the main things is when you start looking at things you're curious about,
Mm-hmm.
your mind just kind of opens up,
Yeah.
and you're able to start seeing things that you might have just missed, or they've always been there, you didn't really pay attention to them, and then all of a sudden they take on this whole new meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I called it my beyond the bubble moment. It was like the moment I decided that I was going to leave and go do something else. It was like this bubble burst. And I was like, oh, wait a second. It's like I've been looking through a film all these years as to, what my options were. And so, yeah, it's a great place to be in when you can finally say, maybe there won't be any options. And all of a sudden you realize there's almost too many. There's almost too many options, which is kind of the next level of challenges that people have that are usually going through career transformation.
Wow, wow. And speaking about career transformation and the freedom and the journey, you actually did a TEDx talk on the two most liberating words that you'll ever say. First, wow, wow, TEDx is really taken off brilliantly,
Yeah.
and you've been on it. Could you tell us a little bit, what are those two magical words that you'll ever say, and how did you move from you transition from your job to finding your journey to creating your own life on your own terms with your own business to being on TEDx?
Yeah, the TEDx was a great experience. It was just this past fall that I got on the TED stage. And I always wanted to, I don't know, there's part of me that I always wanted to be a speaker and stand on a stage. And I guess back in the corporate days, I just thought it was more of like a pipe dream that would never happen. And so I started to, this is another place of stepping into possibility. I actually know quite a few people that were doing TEDx talks. And so I started to ask questions and be curious, because I thought, I guess I had been waiting to, cure cancer or do some sort of crazy, like, insurmountable thing before I would sort of be allowed to speak on the stage. And I guess it's a message out there for all of you who have a message and have an interesting story, which we all really do, that, you know, there's a possibility for you to be able to share that with the world. So my TEDx talk, which is the 2 most liberating words you'll ever say. For those of you that don't want to watch the 18-minute talk, the 2 words are turning point.
Wow.
Yeah. And what I do in the talk is I climbed to the base camp of Mount Everest, and I had this experience on Everest where I got to base camp, and I had been expecting to feel, I don't know, a joy and a satisfaction and an accomplishment, you know, after it takes a week to get there. And I didn't. First of all, I was altitude sickness, so that's one thing. But I really was missing. I'm like, what? You know, normally you climb a mountain, you feel really good about it. And I felt really flat and almost hollow. And of course, the altitude sickness exacerbated that. But I relate in the TED Talk to how I felt in the corporate world. I had achieved this status and this level where I was making this great salary, and I had, you know, people were working for me, and I had the benefits and all of these incentive trips, and I felt hollow. And I was like, where's that satisfaction? And sort of in both places, I talk about the similarities of how I was like sort of like flat, you know, until I realized they're just turning points. Like, no one goes to base camp as a destination. Base camp is either a starting point to summit. You still have a week to get off the mountain. So I realized, as soon as I realized that, I was like, the hike's not done. It's not done. It's just a turning point. And so in my career, the same thing. This isn't done for me. As the second I realize it's just a turning point, I give myself permission to turn. And that's what I suggest people do too, is that when you're in a situation where you feel stuck and you feel trapped, say turning point. And when you say turning point, you give yourself permission, and you actually have to take that step. You just take that first step in a new direction, and it gives you the momentum to keep going.
Wow. And those words of wisdom is I can see that literally.
Yeah.
Where I've done that. I haven't actually said turning point, but it would have been easier if I did.
Takes a while sometimes to declare, this is it. This is a turning point, right?
Yes, exactly. And really looking at that. And even if you're in a flat situation, even if you're in a situation where it's not all what you thought it would be, it's not all cracked up what you thought it would be, you can just look at this and say, this is a turning point.
That's right. Yeah, and there's no set number. You know, lots of people, and I talk about this a bit in my talk too, is lots of people take several detours on the way to getting where they're going. Most of us do. And so a turning point, it's not like you're using up your turning point, right? Like, it's like, oh, I don't want to use up my turning point. But it's just that idea of movement, of actually declaring it and just recognizing it. So it is that's why I call them the liberating words, right? Because it's like you can staying stuck is just a dead end. Choosing to get up and turn, that's momentum that really can get you on the new path to finding your own fabulous.
Wow. And that's really important, to finding your own fabulous, because there's so many of us that are willing to settle, and not settle in a bad way, but we just don't know what else to do. And being curious, even if you decide to stay in the same position you're in, even if you decide to stay in the same situation you're in, just being curious, start asking questions. Yeah. Ask questions to individuals you already know about what are their life dreams? What did they do when they were kids? What did they love?
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden, that can be a turning point of it in itself, where you're still in the same situation, but you have a mental shift of a turning point too.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think it shifts on several fronts, right? The mindset is the first one that needs to happen, because if your mindset's not in that place, then your body's not going to follow. So you're right. You definitely have to have that mindset. And even for me, the moment that my career, the moment where I actually said to myself, it's time to leave my job, I call it the split-second decision, years in the making. So for those people that are out there going, gosh, I've been stuck for so long, it's like, are you done? Like, are you done being stuck? Because if you are, that's your turning point moment. And you get to choose, but it's not a beat myself up because it's been so long, because I certainly didn't have these great epiphanies the moment I could have. You know, like, it takes us a while sometimes to make those shifts. So I think everybody finds their time when they go, okay, this is it now.
Exactly. Exactly. And you actually have a very special friend who's near you physically
I
right
know.
now
I'm sorry. He's like pawing at me.
that you say is actually one of the wisest teachers you've
Mhm.
ever had. Could
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about your dog and
Yeah.
why is it you're the wisest teacher you've ever had?
Yeah. So for all you dog lovers out there, you know this already. But definitely my dog, I have an 80-pound yellow Labrador named Leo. Yeah, and it just so happened I got Leo when he was 8 weeks old. He's a little baby, he used to sit in my hand. And I got him the spring before I left my corporate career. And so he's been on this journey, this entrepreneurial journey with me the whole time. And the reason I say he's one of the wisest teachers is because I get my most insightful aha moments, usually when I'm either playing or walking my dog. And often it's like some profound lesson by something that he just does so naturally. The best one that I can describe is he is a retriever, right? So he loves to carry things around in his mouth. And so he will find the biggest stick he can. And sometimes he's walking with like a 4 or 5 foot long stick. And the beautiful thing is that he marches along like he's so proud, right? And he's so happy in that moment. He's got this huge smile on his face. But him doing exactly what he was bred to do, retrieve, that makes him so happy that he shows in his whole way of being. It never ceases to amaze me how happy he makes other people. Because people walk by him on the street or on the mountain when we're climbing and stuff, and they just start laughing and smiling and go, oh my gosh, did you see that dog? Oh, they always, it's like someone who's completely like sad or flat, and all of a sudden they see my dog and they light up. And so it's such a great reminder. It's like, what do you do that makes you that happy? That when other people walk by you, they cannot help but get some of your happiness spilt on them as well, right? So that's a fabulous way of being, in my opinion. And my dog reminds me of it every time.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, I'm just seeing pictures of this in my mind, and I'm trying not to burst out too much into laughter, but that is so cute. And really, when we see something that just makes our heart sing, even if you're maybe not a dog lover, you see that. You see a dog with this great big stick in his mouth, and he's got a smile from ear to ear. You just have to laugh.
You can't help. Yeah, you can't help.
Exactly. In lightening up on the situation, because a lot of times we try to make these life changes, these turning points so serious.
It's true, right? And he's doing right now. He's sort of pawing at me because I think he wants to be fed. But he does this also when I've been working too hard at my desk. He'll come over and he just like sort of jabs upon me and kind of looks at me, and I'm like, oh, it's time to go outside and play, isn't it? And he's like, yeah. So he brings a lot of play into my life, and it's no wonder that a lot of my work is actually shifting to the power of play and how play can help people discover their greatness. So I think that comes from my dog too.
I would have to agree with you. And honestly, since I've been playing more and working less, I've actually been happier and I'm more prosperous.
Yeah.
And you would think that if you work harder, if you just put your nose to the grindstone, you'll get more done and you'll have more money. But it doesn't work that way.
Well, one of my favorite sayings and one of my full missions in the work that I do is to blur the line between work and play. And so I think a lot of us have this mindset that work has to be hard. It has to be a grind. And if you not have some struggle with it, then it's not work, right? And it's like, oh, you're off having too much fun. You must be playing and not working.
Yes.
But often, when I'm writing or I'm thinking of an idea for a blog or I'm coming up with ideas to provide experiences for my clients, like I said, sometimes they come to me when I'm playing with my dog. And so the question is, am I playing or am I working? It's kind of a blurry line because I'm like, I just got my best ideas. I got more done taking a walk with him than I would have had I forced myself to sit at my computer. So that's what I encourage people to do, and I help people do that as well, is get to a place where they can blur that line a little bit and say, I don't know if I'm working or playing right now because it's fun and I'm getting lots done.
Yes. Yes. And that's really and truly how we were designed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And now I personally believe that we're going back to our original design because we're moving outside of the industrialized age, more to the service age where we can be our true authentic self.
Yeah, that's definitely coming out more in, I think we're just shifting that way as a society, as a nation, as a continent really. And I love to see that happening. And I'm just looking at him because he looks at me and I'm like, oh yeah, I know. But this whole shift between just redefining what it means to be successful, what that looks like, what that feels like, and knowing that it doesn't have to have the old, definition of what work meant when people, went to the factories, were there plugging hard all day, came home dirty and sweaty and tired and ready to live, outside of their job. It doesn't have to look that way anymore.
That's so true. And your book, it really focuses on paving the path
Yeah.
instead of giving people the more common things. So can you tell us a little bit about your book and how you've been able to have this passionate love affair with life with two different places?
Yeah. So, my book, Paving the Path, that was like, this is the book here. Paving the Path
Fabulous.
was, it was intentional that I wrote that because I actually I was at a writing retreat early on, and they were encouraging us, all of us that were writing, transformational self-help kind of books, to do the 3 steps to or 7 steps to this, that you would typically see. And when I was writing, it just didn't feel right. I said, I don't know how many steps it's going to take individuals because I don't know where they're starting. What I do know is that the journey doesn't start until they take that first step. But it's a journey and a path they're going to have to take. Now, I interviewed, dozens and dozens of people for this book so that I could understand what they went through on their journeys, find the common threads, and then share some of their solutions, creative solutions to those common barriers. And that's the whole idea of the paving the path. So I say everybody's got to go down a path and it's probably going to be bumpy.
Mm-hmm.
Can I smooth it out a little bit for them? Can I use all the learnings from these individuals that I'm using in my own life and share them with other people so that we all have a little bit of a smoother route? I'm not going to promise you it's going to be done in 6 steps or 4 days or 4 months even.
Mm-hmm.
But the journey's worth it. And definitely by gaining support from others who've done it, you can definitely smooth out that path for yourself. So that was the intention for the book.
Wow. And that's really taking your true essence, taking your intuition and writing a book from your heart
Yeah.
rather than following the gurus where you have to have 3 steps to or 5 steps to. And a lot of times it's not like that. Life is a little bit messy at times.
Yeah.
And it can be messy fun or it can be messy not fun, but you get to choose.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is all about choice. It's an intentional choice, right? Because going down this path, whether you said, whether you stay in a career that you've had already and make some changes, or whether you go into this entrepreneurial journey, it's all a choice in how you go about it. And there are so many options and lots of the gurus, they have, there's rationale to why they say, do it this way or do it that way. But what I found is that you need to remember those are just options. And there are so many more. So, you can take it, internalize it. Does it feel right for me? And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, well, you get to explore a different path.
True. That is so true. And so many individuals, we've been molded into thinking that we don't have options unless we go to the store.
Mm-hmm.
But really, our life is a buffet of options. And you found the resources that really helped you open your mind to write your book, to be on TEDx. Can you share some of the resources that really helped you open the door to having these options and choosing?
Yeah, there's a couple things that I suggest to people. One of them, the very first thing I did when I left the corporate world was I got a coach. And so there are so many options out there for coaches. So we won't get into all the reasons of how to pick a really good coach for you. But one that resonates with you is the number one. Finding someone to actually help you and not trying to do this on your own. That is definitely the first one. Mm-hmm. And also, I think I started to allow myself to play in spaces that I hadn't been in before. Mm-hmm. So I actually went to conferences where there were tons of other people. I met actually tons of people that I interviewed for my book at a Brendan Burchard conference. And when I went, I didn't even know who he was or what he was about. Then obviously it turns out he is the guru of online marketing and speaking and seminars. But at the time I didn't know, but I followed my intuition to go to this conference that sort of appeared on my computer one day. And I met all sorts of individuals who I could learn from their stories. And I could also hear from the gurus like a Brendan, some of the tactics that I could do to put in place. So that's the suggestion, is partially get some support from a coach. In my book, I do a whole chapter on support and how you can really build up I call it a tapestry of support, because there's different levels and areas. And also just be open to going to new events, meeting new people, trying out new things, playing with some of those curiosities that you have. You mentioned, I think, some of those things that used to light you up as a kid. And I talk about signs from your youth in my book. And so I asked people, what was the game or toy you played with most as a child? And it was so amazing to see the connection between these entrepreneurs who had gone down these windy paths and ended up basically getting paid to do what they used to love to play when they were a kid. There was a strong, strong connection. So, I could go on forever. I won't, but those are some of the big ones that helped me move forward.
Wow. And you actually have a free gift for the individuals listening to this to help them to get more clarity.
Yeah.
And it's called the Clarity Accelerator. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And how can individuals get this so that they can have more clarity?
Yeah. So the first step, I think, is gaining some awareness and clarity of where you're at right now. So again, could I tell you how many steps? No, because I don't know where you are, and maybe you don't either. So I would say, get to your best life. What does that look like? You start with the question of what is missing almost, or what is your drive for change? So the Clarity Accelerator, you can find it on my website, which is lisadad.com. That's LISADADD.com. And you just click on the button and send me your email, and I will email you the Clarity Accelerator. And it just goes through, it's really 3 simple steps so there's the steps. The steps come in eventually. Three simple steps to gaining a little bit of clarity to get you going, to give you that real clear motivation and drive for change, because change is hard. And unless you see something better on the other side of change, you'll never make it happen. So it has to be worth going through the change. And so it just helps people get a little bit clearer on that. And I use a lot of the really common areas that came up with the interviews. I did all these interviews, and it drilled down to 2 or 3 things that people are missing in their life. And so, so we talk about freedom, and we talk about purpose, and we talk about these really, just getting really clear on what that means for individuals. It means something different for everyone.
Oh, that is so true. And that really works well for being able to really get more clarity. And even if you think you have clarity, there might be somebody that maybe they're going through a transition that could really use this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good first step for people, for sure, is to just have those answers. And as you said, sometimes, this is a journey that we need clarity at every level, right? Mm-hmm. Just as you've got clarity and you start expanding your life in one way, then something else comes up and you say, okay, I need to be a little clearer on this. And so I think it's just one of those things that we're constantly looking for, is to be really, really connected and aligned to what it is we really want.
Yes. Wow, Lisa, the time has gone so fast. And is there any last tips that you'd like to leave with our audience before we wrap it up?
I think we've covered a lot of really good ones for people, but I would just leave you with the sense that finding fabulous is all about getting clear on what it is you find is fabulous, but it's not always just looking for something outside of yourself. Because when you really go down the path of getting clear on what gives you energy, what lights you up, what is leading you towards your best life, often what else will come up is an understanding and appreciation and a celebration for what's already there that's already fabulous. Sometimes we get stuck in the grind of what's not fabulous, and we forget about the part that is. So this isn't just about looking for something else. This is really about cleaning out your life and just keeping what's fabulous and going after more of it. So that's what I would say to people. Just be open to the possibilities because they are endless.
Wow. Wow. Well, Lisa, I want to thank you. Thank you for giving us your wisdom, imparting your information, laughing with us, and really helping us to understand that your turning point can be
Yeah.
the very best 2 words that you ever use.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Luci. It's been lots of fun.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank my audience. I am so grateful that you are listening. I am so grateful that you have tuned in and that you are choosing to make a better way. You're choosing to clear the path so that you can have a more fabulous life. So until next time, abundant blessings. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Wealthy Wednesday Show. This is your host, Luci McMonagle, and I would love to keep in touch with you by giving you a very special gift that will help you move your business and your life forward. You can access this special gift I am giving to you at my website at lucimcmonagle.com. That's LuciMcMonagle.com for keeping in touch with me and getting access to a gift that will help you move your business and life forward. Until next time, abundant blessings.